And we are back. Another big week of the Pick and Go Rugby podcast ready to go. As you can see, you may be pleased or disappointed to see I've made my way back from Queenstown successfully. Many thanks to you boys for holding down the fort last week while I was away, and big thanks to Ian Smith for making his Pick and Go debut. That was quite a highlight. Paul Mighty, Richard Liddy. A lot happened in the last 9 or 10 days since we recorded a podcast.
Not much. Not a lot to talk about this week, to be fair. I don't know where we're going to start.
How about you, Richard? I don't even know what to say. So sum up your thoughts.
Probably just Canterbury securing their spot in the semi-finals. Is a highlight of my last few days.
Cut you off right there.
Where do you start? And last Thursday night was just absolutely wild. One of the more wild games of rugby I've seen in a very long time. So many talking points. Where do you start? You probably have to start. Well, we are recording on a Thursday, and we've just had the news that Darcy Swain's got his 6 weeks. There's been a lot of chatter whether it's too much, whether it's not enough, too much. He'll be paying for it for a very long time. I'm probably one All Blacks fan that sympathises with him a little bit. I don't think it was deliberate. I think it was reckless, but I don't think the intention was there, like some people are implying. And he'll be living with that for a very long time. So he'll be you remember the days of Clay Cooper coming along getting the boos. I'm sure he'll be getting those boos.
He aimed at the leg and he got the leg. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I've cleared out a lot of rucks in my time. Not a lot legally, but not a lot like that. Yeah. I don't know. There was a lot that went on at Marvel Stadium on Thursday night. Obviously, I think there was a lot of good, though. I want to say it was for 78 minutes. It was an incredibly entertaining game. Probably, all on balance, one of the great Blenherslow tests in a lot of ways. That's sort of, unfortunately, our friend from Europe sort of overshadowed that at the end, because we were all talking about, it seems Darcy Swain and Matsuri and Al have been capturing a lot of the headlines when, I want to talk about Samasoni Takiaho, I want to talk about Rob Valentini, I want to talk about Pete Samu, those guys, just to name a few, Andrew Callaway. There's some awesome performances out there. What did we learn from the test that we can apply going forward as punters or rugby fans?
Andrew Callaway. He could learn to transfer the ball from the inside shoulder to the outside shoulder.
That was poor, to be fair.
He made up for it. Got a couple of tries later on the game. So
there was a big momentum shift there. So to say that he made up for it later on, you can't make up for those sorts of things. I don't think so. So
you can say the same about Samasoni as well, which is not getting the ball down.
Could have scored 4.
Yeah. Well, he heard that it was about 5-on-1 that second try he scored, and he just win himself.
His one was slightly different. Who win himself?
Samasoni. Yeah.
There's about. I think there was. I think it was a 4 or 5-on-1. Oh, I'd love to see it. He got the job done. Yeah.
I think was it Satutu who kicked the ball instead of either taking it into the tackle.
You're just desperate to be negative here, Paul, aren't you?
Well, no, I'm just pointing. You said let's take out of the game what we got. Yeah. That's what I got.
Yeah. No, I backed Brodie Retallick to score a try, so I was tearing my hair out when he put that on the toe. Yeah.
Look, I'm looking forward to this Wallabies team when they get to full strength. There's a lot of potential there, and there's a lot to like about the team. You mentioned Valentini before. He's one of my favourite players in the world at the moment. He's playing absolutely out of his skin. I've sort of compared him to Ardie Sevilla before, but you saw it again. He just so good every time he gets the ball. He's breaking tackles, he's making ground, great on defense as well. So awesome showing from him, and Pete Samu as well. Obviously, I put him as number 7 in my Rugby Championship team, and he's not a natural 7, probably more of a 6, but very much proved he can fill that hole very well. Callaway was great at the back. Foley had a bit of a, he actually had some really nice touches. Obviously, held onto the ball for a couple of seconds too long at the end there. It was probably the right decision, but wrong time for it to be called up, for considering that you never see it. If a lot of people are saying, he's been warned the whole game. Well, so if he's been warned the whole game, penalise him earlier in the game. Don't do it at a time like that, which, as sort of Nick White said at the end there, whether they would have won the Rugby Championship or not, would have been a tough ask from there still, but they've cost them the chance at sort of pulling off a unlikely, probably Bledisloe one more importantly. So yeah.
yeah, I don't like the time wasting thing's been touched on. I mean, 800 times. There's 4,000 different angles of the conversation between Raynell and Foley on Twitter by now. There's a better way to read the game in that situation. I think people who listen to this podcast for a while now, I know I'm big on refs feeling the moment and going with the flow of the game rather than by the rule book. And there's plenty of people who are saying, oh, he's got a few ticks in the World Rugby checkbook there for that, which I think says it all. Like,
no one. Nigel Owens coming out and being, the right call was made. It's like it's not really what we're debating here. Like you look at the NRL where they've got the shot clock and it's just taking all that control, all that sort of control out of the referee's hand. They've got the shot clock where players know exactly how long they've got. There's no sort of black and white there. It's very clear. So
aside from that,
real shame. Great game.
I thought Foley, he really worked his way into the game. We sort of saw Australia launch that comeback in the last 25-30 minutes once they were back to full strength. And I think a big part of that was Foley sort of got comfortable. He got used to the guys he had playing outside him, and he was really running that back line quite well. Him and Callaway combined excellently, the timing on a few of his passes. So do we think maybe Dave Rennie's stumbled onto something there, that Foley can play that sort of custodian role in the 10 jersey, not have to do too much, just make the most of the plentiful weapons he's got inside and outside him, and sort of guide this Wallabies team around the park pretty successfully?
Well, look, Rennie is a very, very good coach, but he may have been forced into that change just because of what he had left on the table by bringing Foley in. And it turned out it almost worked perfectly, almost. But I think you can say, well, now Foley becomes certainly a cog in that Wallabies machine. So I think he's jumped ahead of the likes of O'Connor.
Certainly Lola Sea, you'd have to think.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of how long it takes our good friend Quaid to come back from injury next season, and he'll obviously be number one in that picking line if he's fully fit by the time the World Cup comes around next year. So he's starting to build up a wee bit of depth. I guess what's concerning for the All Blacks is an understrength Australian team was able to sort of go so close.
Yeah, I mean, you put Samu Kuruvi and Michael Hooper and a couple of other injured Wallabies back on the park, that very easily could be a different result. But to be fair to the All Blacks, you do have to say, like, they lost 3 guys to injuries in the first half, like 2 second fives that caused a massive backline reshuffle, and the backline did look pretty disjointed in that second half. I thought there was a lot of, like, either they were scoring points when they were up 2 men, or really good players doing really good rugby things. Not necessarily every time they actually tried to, like, put the ball through their hands and go wide, it didn't go so well. It was Samasoni Takiaho putting his foot down and then running over a couple of guys, or Richie Moong and putting a guy on skates, where we had the really good moments. So that's obviously it's losing your captain. I mean, Sam Cane has his detractors, but I'm not one of them. I think that's going to have a massive impact no matter what stage of the game. So I do think there is. I think it's just one of those games. It's so hard to get a read on it, which sort of brings us along not nicely to Saturday night at Eden Park, where we're going to do it all again. The Blendersloe is safely in the cabinet, but the Rugby Championship is not, and I don't think Ian Foster and co will want to be risking another test loss. Obviously, there's the Eden Park streak in play, everything like that. The All Blacks are big favourites for this, and so I think the point starts in that sort of 15 to 16 point range. Currently getting
15 and a half,
15 and a half. You're getting $1.18 for the All Blacks head to head. Are you boys as confident as the bookies that the All Blacks are going to do this one pretty comfortably?
Well, you factor in the Eden Park, whatever it is, good luck charm, then you've got to think the All Blacks are a huge, huge chance of coming out with a victory, and quite a comfortable one. However, this has been the year, or this has been an All Black team that has found the ability to break long-term trends. Take Ireland for one, take Argentina for one. Take Ireland winning a series over here. There's a few trends that they've broken, long-standing trends that they've, much longer than 21 years.
They had a big win over Argentina recently, though. I heard everything was fixed.
And then
they played a good 40 minutes.
And then they went to Australia, and then
they'd looked good against 13 men for a while.
So I'm tempted to take the 15 and a half plus.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to be rushing into any big point start. Before we sort of dive right into the odds, we will touch on the team the All Blacks have named. We knew they were going to be forced into a few changes with the likes of David Havili, Quintapaya, Sam Cane all out. But even then, I think we were still a bit surprised to see certainly Cody Taylor back in the 2 jersey after Simisoni Taukei'aho's exploits over the past few weeks. And Scott Barrett, I'm not quite sure if he's picked up an injury or not, but he's out of the 23 altogether. You get Akira Ioane on the blind side, who did have some very impressive performances against the Wallabies last year. Artie Severe comes back into that jersey, which is always going to be a massive in anytime Artie's coming into your team. And then probably not the most surprising, but the most interesting selection, I'd say, Geordie Barrett in the 12 jersey with his brother Bodie back at the 15. We don't get to see Will Jordan in the run in the 15.
We've just lost 3,000 viewers from Christchurch.
Shout out to Matt Bauer.
He'll be very angry about that.
Yeah,
I think he's very angry about a few selections in this All Black team.
Well, yeah, what do you guys make of it? Are they experimenting? Is it just sort of they're sticking whatever pegs in whatever holes they can find?
Swan has that feel about it. I don't know. Does Tupou Vai not deserve another chance starting?
Oh, that's one I am happy about. Like, even though he's not starting, he hasn't seen a lot of game time this year, and I think he's got all the talent in the world. I think he could be the answer. That 6 lock hybrid brings a little bit more athleticism than other options with all the grunt.
Good way of finding out is to put the 6th number on his jersey and to get him out there straight away.
Maybe bring Akira Ioane off the bench late in the game to run at some tired defences.
There we go.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, there's obviously a method to all this. We'll probably see RTS get a run off the bench, whether it'll be a Stephen Perifeta-sized run or a bigger one remains to be seen.
They need to
Darcy Swain, so
yeah, but yeah, I mean, yeah, surely this is the week you give RTS a proper run, right? You've got to, at some stage, you pay this bloke all this money. We know he's a quality footballer, whether or not he's quite up to speed with all the systems or whatever. Like, the guy can play footy. We know that.
Yeah. And we saw it for the Blues. He probably hasn't lit the world on fire as much as a little bit coaches would have wanted to see in the NPC so far. He probably got a little bit overplayed. Against the Tasman midfield last week of Almoa and Nankiville, but yeah, plenty of talent there. I mean, we all know I'm a massive Tumas Sheik fan. Love to see what he did for the Warriors and for the Kiwis. So really excited to see him hopefully get what did he get in the Ireland test? 4 or 5 minutes?
Yeah, it was very little. I think he came on for the last set piece. So,
yeah. So interesting to see Severis in the 23 as well. Obviously with the sort of backline they've line name, they've got a few people who can kind of move around. But I'm hoping he gets a good run, and then maybe we'll see Jordan at 15 at some point.
Yeah, well, you think maybe
but the Cody Taylor hooker seems like a pretty bizarre.
That's the mystifying one to me, right? Like, Simisoni's been playing so well. He's clearly healthy because he's in the 16 jersey. Yeah. So
if you're giving him a rest, you give him the week off, don't you?
Yeah. Is it just that they want?
Are they giving Cody Taylor one last shot or something?
Like it might be, right? Like, because Cody wasn't even on the bench the last 2 games, and maybe he's been dealing with the niggle, and now they think he's 100% again.
Well, he was on the bench in the Argentina game. It was there in a line-out throw, which
I'm just disappointed we don't get to see Dan Coles and Nick White reunited at Eden Park.
Like, I mean, Cody Taylor, he's done a lot of good for the Crusaders and All Blacks over the years, but yeah, he just has been pretty out of form, or very out of form this season for the All Blacks. So whether or not they're sort of giving him a go, just saying, hey, look, see what you can do. There's a couple of guys playing pretty well in the 2 jersey and the NPC who could find themselves in the squad in the next 12 months. So good luck to him. I hope he has a good game, but I was very surprised to see that.
Fletcher Newell?
Yeah, that's the other one, I suppose, in terms of the bench. We've swapped out the reserve props. Ofatunga Fasi and Nepo Lala both come onto the bench. Maybe it is just, these bigger bodies giving them a bit of a break towards the end of the Rugby Championship. But
that would have been your starting front row at the start of the season, So they're good players, so don't mind that so much. I would like to see Fakatava get another run at some point as well, He's only played that one game at under the roof against Ireland, so it'd be cool to see him coming off the bench, hopefully in the Northern Tour.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Japan.
He'll get 6 minutes against Scotland or something, probably. Yeah. We've talked about it a bit. With all due considerations, it wasn't a dominant performance by the All Blacks at in Melbourne, it wasn't, there were probably only a couple of star performances, shall we say, and one of those guys is not starting this week, who does need to step up and sort of put their foot on this match and help the All Blacks claim the Rugby Championship, or if the All Blacks are going to have a comfortable victory.
Cody Taylor. Well, not just for the All Blacks, for himself as well. I think he has to have a huge game to, I guess, remind the selectors that he is still a very, very capable All Black.
Because he was like pinned in as the starting hooker
at the start of the season. He would have been the number one. Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. So he's fallen. For mine, he's fallen down to number 3 or 4 now. So yeah, it'll be a big game for Cody. He's been a huge contributor to the All Blacks over the years. But as you say, if he doesn't put in a big performance, we may well be seeing Cody on his last game as an All Black, possibly. Well, do you take him away on the Northern Tour if he doesn't?
Because George Bell is tearing up all sorts of trees in the NPC, and not that you want to chuck guys in too early, but whether a
Northern Tour would be a great place.
Give him 12 months.
Japan, exactly.
Just something to ponder at night.
I'm looking forward to seeing the 6 and 7, see how they go. Kiri Ioane and Dalton Papali'i playing in front of their home crowds, both getting relatively. I mean, Kiri's got a fair amount of starts, but he struggled with consistency. We'll see one good game from him, and then the next game he'll go a bit missing. So if those two can play well, and obviously, I mean, Sam Cane's got that 7 jersey locked up, but Dalton will still sort of fighting for that bench loose forward spot.
And there is that sort of, we don't have the balance of the loose forwards set up that well. So Dalton could, suggest he's worthy of trying alongside Sam Cane in some sort of configuration with a big performance here.
Yeah, exactly. And then Satutu come off the bench as well. So he probably, I was looking forward to seeing Satutu last week, and I think that he probably let himself down. He wasn't too bad, but just kind of like that, he had his chance to sort of make a real stamp on the game and didn't. And there was obviously that kick, which everyone's talking about. So he can come off the bench and bring some physicality late in the game. Would be good to see.
Okay, I don't want to be negative.
Yes, you do.
Maybe this just isn't a great All Black side.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe it's a very good All Black side in an era where there are a number of very, very good international teams around.
It's not going to be 2015 for the rest of time. Some All Blacks fans, we have been very spoilt over the last 15 years.
Correct.
1998 did happen. There are times when the All Blacks are going to struggle, and maybe that's when we start backing pluses and things like that, because the All Blacks logo and mana and all that sort of is still going to carry quite a lot of weight in the world of rugby.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you say, you're talking about the All Blacks dominance. 2001 was obviously when we last lost to Australia. 29 consecutive tests that we've
in New Zealand
that we've won. 48 consecutive games at Eden Park, 22 of them against Australia. And looking through the scores, there's been some blowouts. Plenty of 20, 30-point blowouts. So yeah, we have been absolutely spoiled, and maybe the rest of the world's. Not maybe, the rest of the world is well and truly
not just caught up. I think some of them have gone past.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. Look, if this is a master plan or something, and we go to the World Cup next year and we win it, we'll look back and go, oh, well played. But I'm not so sure that we can turn it up a notch once again in the Northern Hemisphere and put 3 big games together in a row.
We know the quarterfinal is going to be tough. It's
semi,
South
final.
Africa or Ireland, almost definitely. Then it's going to be a tough game in the semi-final, whether it's England, whether it's Wales, whether it's Australia. It's not going to be easy. So you're going to have to put 3 performances together. It's not beating Argentina at home once and throwing a parade. Well, there are a lot of players out injured as well still to come back. So
yes.
I mean,
it's not all doom and gloom.
The reality of it is, the All Blacks are going to have several of the best players in the world. They might not have quite the same team on paper as France or the same system as Ireland, but on their day, you're never going to write the All Blacks off in a one-on-one test against any of those sides. They, a team with Artie Severe, Bowden Barrett, Richie Mo'unga, Brodie Retallick, Sam Whitelock, I could go on. They're going to be right up there. But yeah, as far as Saturday night goes, I'm still not comfortable backing them as massive favourites because I know they're going to hit flat spots probably. I don't know, like
the only thing that makes me want to is just the Eden Park thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, very much when I first saw the point start, I was like, I wouldn't mind. I think it was 14.5 at that point. So obviously,
But
that's on the move.
I don't know. I think back to that Island test where they obviously smoked them at Eden Park. That was a 20-minute sort of burst that got them there.
Yeah, and it was a few Irish mistakes they capitalised on.
Some guy called Johnny Six on Wheels
went off injured.
Yeah.
I think that's a very different game
If he stays on.
Johnny stays on.
They lost a wee bit of sort of form.
They lost all this. Like you listen to sort of the Irish rugby punditry, and that's still the big sort of Achilles heel for Ireland going into next year. Is if anything happens to Johnny,
bye.
They're like, I think he might be transported around France in some sort of hyperbaric chamber in between games.
Bubble wrap.
Yeah, like literally almost so that he's that valuable to them. So yeah, we might as well get into it. Rissy, I feel like as it's sort of become your role on the Pick and Go podcast these days, you're probably the most optimistic of the three of us for the All Blacks' hopes.
Comes and goes.
Do you want to give us your best bet for Blenhersloe 2?
New Zealand 1 to 12, $2.70. Yeah, I think bonus bet in play, is it?
Yeah, we've got a bonus back promotion on
have...
that test and also on the other test that we'll talk about a wee bit later, the Springboks Argentina test. So just back the I'll have a winning team in margin bet, and if your team wins but you've got the incorrect margin, you'll get a bonus bet up to $50 back in your account.
We've also got another promotion going, which that bet will live up to as well. Yeah, so New Zealand 1 to 12 at $2.70. I think they'll win, but yeah, I don't like the minus 14, 15.5. So I'll take 1 to 12 there.
The other promotion Richard alluded to there is a chance to win a share in over $100,000 in bonus bets.
21 $5,000 bonus bets to give away.
That's the one.
Get in the draw.
I can't possibly do justice to the promo over this medium, but just
head to the Punters Lounge.
Match.
I'll let you take over.
Oh, sorry.
Match result bets and winning term margin bets. Is there a monetary value that you have to go over?
Head to the Punters Lounge, tab.co.nz/punters. It's right there up the top. Find out. You can chance to win all sorts of bonus bets. Get involved.
Provided New Zealand wins, I'll get my entry into that draw as well. If I'm allowed to.
If you don't back the winning team, you go in the draw to win one of 3 jars of Carisbrook dirt. How good?
Because Carisbrook was the last venue that New Zealand
lost
against
Australia in New Zealand,
2001.
Yes,
I'm glad I made you that coffee.
And that's why we had to
18 points.
That's why we had to knock it down.
Have a look for our social channels for our little tongue-in-cheek video we've got up on that as well. It's a good laugh.
So I haven't given my best bet. I got a bit. So Richard is on New Zealand 1 to 12 at 270 for his best bet. I'm also on New Zealand 1 to 12 at 270. Do have that little bit of insurance if the All Blacks do decide to play 80 minutes as they've done once this year. So that keeps me a little bit. I can't see the Wallabies winning at Eden Park. It's just too big a climb, but I think it's going to be a pretty frustrating watch. So I'll take the 1 to 12. What are you on, Paul?
As I've said earlier, this All Black team is a trend breaker, not a trend setter. I'm going to take the try bet, either team by under 7.5 at 360.
Good value for the best bets this week.
All sorts of value for his best bets.
Well, I just
comes and goes. It'll be $1.10 one week, and then it'll be $5 next week.
Well, it depends on how spicy I want to be.
I don't mind that. I did see that one as well, actually.
How spicy are you getting with your value bet then? If that's your best bet, what's your favourite value bet on the card for this game, Paul?
Australia 1 to 12, $6.
Left yourself a nice little middle there.
Indeed.
And you, Richard, what's your value bet?
I just read my value bet's not actually that much more than my best bet, but Australia plus 7.5 at $2.90. $2.90.
Yeah, I'm going to go. Prices aren't up for try scorers yet, but we've mentioned a Kerry Ioane named on the flank. He's had a pretty good record against Australia. Loves getting out on those wider channels and terrorising some midfielders. I think he'll dot down at some stage on Saturday night. So I'm not quite sure, but you should get more than $3 for him to score on today. So yeah, that would be my value bet, providing that pops up. If not, I'll put something on our social channels if it changes. But a Kerry Ioane anytime try scorer. And of course, another promo. Can't forget about Same Game Claim, also running on both Rugby Championship games this weekend. 3 or more legs, same game multi, and if you miss by 1 leg, get a bonus bet back to the value of your stake. So we're gonna
up to 50.
Up to 50. Yep. Thank you, TNC Paul there. So we're gonna put our heads together and try and find a winner for the punters. I'll let you get the ball rolling, Mr. Terms and Conditions. What's your league for the same game multi you're chucking in?
Oh well, I wanted to put a try score in, but they're not in there yet. So
yeah, we can.
I'll just take Australia plus 15.5 at $1.87.
All right, Australia plus 15.5. Richard,
the over's been good to me lately, so I'll go over 50.5 points.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I think it could be pretty high scoring.
Yeah, I've seen a few high scoring games between these teams, Eden Park, and even if the All Blacks do run away with it, with a 30, gets 30 and 40 points, it should still go over that 50.5. Yeah, so
yeah. And I'll chuck in Andrew Callaway to score a try. Should get a pretty nice price amongst those 3. I think we've seen the guy's got a nose for the try line. Just really smart footballer. Yes, thank you, Paul. Enjoy that if you're watching on YouTube. But yeah,
he was the first try scorer last one of the two games, because they played 2 games at Eden Park in 2001. Yeah, or
2021.
2021.
But yeah, he's got a nose for that. I really like the way he connected with Bernard Foley last week. I think he's going to be right in the thick of things. Some fullback gives him the opportunity to get a bit more involved with it on the wing. So back him to score a try, find some gaps, and maybe a little disconnected All Blacks backline defence. So we got Australia plus 16.5, the over from Richard, and
15.5, I think it was. Yeah, 15.5.
And the over into Andrew Callaway to score a try for this week's pick and go same game multi. All right, let's we'll jump in the jet, head across the Indian Ocean, park up in Durban, where the Springboks are getting ready to take on the Pumas once again.
Pumas.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, big performance from the Springboks. Did the job fairly comfortably. There was a bit of a nervous sort of 10 or 15 minutes towards the end in Buenos Aires, but
penalty tries. Yeah, you can have one. You can have one. Talk about referees getting stuck in.
Yes. Start with a fairly similar team this week. Shout out to the Springboks, as always, naming their team well in advance for all us content creators.
Love it.
Love your work.
Much appreciated.
Good to see Peter Steph Toy back on the flank there. Bongi and Manami returns to the bench. Malcolm Marks might have to play 80 minutes this week.
Although he showed that he can.
Yeah, it's interesting now. Jacques and Co have got some decisions to make around there. I presume once Bongi's back to full strength, we'll see them go back to the bomb squad. But it has worked well the last 2 weeks, you'd have to say. 2 very impressive performances from the Springboks starting pack. Francois Steyn gets a start at 10 as well, probably the other notable selection decision from the Springboks there. I suppose it all comes down to sort of what the All Blacks do on Saturday night in some way, because Springboks are currently 13 points behind the All Blacks in points differential. So they'll know what they need to do. Can they run down the All Blacks?
It's a hard one, isn't it? It definitely can. Absolutely. I mean, I do think there'll be a few points. So if the All Blacks do win, I think they. What do you have to do to get a bonus point now? You 1 extra try, 2 extra tries,
3 extra tries.
3 extra tries. Yeah. So that's not a given. But the way South Africa played last week, back at home, they've got a pretty good record against Argentina at home. So I definitely reckon they can. I think front Steyn at 10's a bit of a, I wouldn't say a downgrade, but he just, he does his job well, but I don't think he's going to add that spark that Willemse does.
With no Willemse, no Arm, no Pollard on the field, like Willie LaRue is going to have to do a lot of playmaking.
Yeah,
when he can, he's a great playmaker, but yeah, it's maybe they're just going to put up a lot of bombs and
it's just hard with the South African team. We have seen 2 pretty impressive performances from them in a row, which is what we haven't seen from many teams during this Rugby Championship. So yeah, I mean, I'm on them to win, but I don't know how big it'll be. They definitely can chase them down, but I think that is it even still an outright market? I presume not.
Yep, 225 you can get for the box.
Yeah, I think I'd still be on New Zealand. I'd obviously be short, but
$1.57 you can get for the All Blacks.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that. Yeah, I think I'll be taking them in the outright.
I'll take the 225.
Me too.
Because I think the Springboks might only need to win by about 18.
I think they might need to win by less than 13. Yeah. I really like Du Toit back in there. I'm very, very interested to see how he goes. As you say, the back line has a wee bit of a... It's not... how do you say? It's not a rookie back line. It just looks like a back line that doesn't fit together.
Yeah. It's 2 guys who look really good when they're playing next to Lukhanyo Arm.
I would look good playing next to Lukhanyo Arm. He is absolutely sensational. But I'm really keen to see how our good friend Moody Blues goes again. It was a wee bit, well, I don't think the game sort of flowed his way last weekend. But
it was a fairly attritional game for a lot of it, wasn't it?
It was. So I'm really hoping that he gets the opportunity to get a wee bit more involved, because he really does look like a special type of player, only young. He'll be in that Springbok team for years and years to come, and he'll probably be a real pain in the ass for All Black and Australian sides for a long time. I thought, was it Willems? I thought he went really good. I mean, he was good.
He's a gun.
Yeah. So the Springboks almost have the same sort of, I guess, issues as the All Blacks. It's, who do we put in this position, as opposed to, can't really find anyone. They've got a few abundance of riches in certain positions. Khaleesi I think has been their player of the tournament. He's been huge in just about every game he's played, and how that loose forward trio goes Sunday morning our time. Was about 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, how that goes. But as you say, the big thing for the Springboks is they'll know exactly what they need to do to win the Rugby Championship. In fact, I think I remember a Super Rugby game there a few years
Bulls
ago.
Reds?
Yeah.
91-3 or something.
They had to win by 60 or 70. Not saying that's going to happen here. I'm just saying, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, no, I think they'll have a red hot chance, because we have seen as well, like Argentina, a couple of impressive performances. They've also had a couple of performances where they've fallen off and sort of let go of the rope late on. So this Box team with the bit between their teeth, they've gone back to the 6-2 splits, and powerful forwards to come off the bench there, like Dwayne Vermeulen and Quagga Smith can make a lot happen. Faf Clerk coming on and sort of just terrorising people. I give them the red hot chance, but
And Keatley making his return from suspension.
It's an interesting one there, I guess, because I mean, he sort of just seems like a like-for-like replacement for Kanan Moody.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to give Moody a run now. So
It's obviously they've got a plan with the back line that they can move people around. But it's kind of a bizarre to have a. I mean, has he played much? Has he played fullback at all? Do we know?
Oh, like Moody can play all over the place.
Moody can. You're talking about Moody?
Yeah.
I was talking about Keatley.
Right.
Moody can.
Yeah. I mean, I think Moody, a lot like Jordy Barrett, probably play 8 and do a good job. So. No, I
think they're going to put a show on.
Yeah, me too. We'll get to it now, but my best bet's just taking the -7.5. I could get a bit curlier with it and look at some side markets, but I'm just going to lock that in. Box -7.5, $1.90. I think that's great money.
Yep. Me too.
Times 2.
Yes.
And Richard?
I'm playing the bonus back. Bonus back and going South Africa 1 to 12, $3. They've got a good record. I think they've won 6 in a row against Argentina at home, but 5 of them have been by 1 to 12. They haven't had too many blowouts.
I dare say that.
And Argentina, who knows what
never before have they probably gone into a test match against Argentina at home knowing exactly what they needed to do.
Well, they usually play the first 2 games of the Rugby Championship.
So that's just getting into the tournament there at peak fitness. And I think it's been a long tournament for the Argentinians. I think they're going to I think we just saw them starting to get a wee bit tired last week, and the trip over to South Africa. Oh boy, look out.
I think that might have been their sort of grand final, trying to get the win over the Springboks at home. That was probably the game they targeted, right? A lot the same way Christchurch, then to Hamilton, but got bonus back.
Exactly.
I
mean, I don't think Argentina will win, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it. A lot closer than the line suggests. So taking the 1 to 12 double in both games, and it might be a nice little
a bonus bet. You take that. What's a bit of value you found on the card for this game, Paul?
I'll just give me the box in 13 and over, please.
51 to 60 points in the total points band at $3.70. I think there'll be a few points, and 51 to 60 seemed like I had a wee look at the history, and it had come up about 4 of the last 6 or something like that. So didn't mind that.
I'm going South Africa -32.5, the ultimate start $5, because I think we've seen Argentina lose to a team not as good as the Springboks by 50. So Springboks could certainly do something like that if they really get going. So I think they might struggle. They don't quite have the points in the back line that All Blacks team did, but just such a machine up front, it might not matter. So, and we're going to have one last swing at same game claim for this game as well. Last opportunity for the Rugby Championship to get involved with it. Same T's and C's as the All Blacks game, as you'll remember fondly, Paul. Richard, do you want to get the ball rolling here? What's your multi-league for us?
Back on the over 50 and a half points for this one.
South Africa might do that by themselves. Paul?
South Africa 51 or more.
Oh, love it.
$21, but I don't know what it'll be in the same game.
Yeah. Well, and then if they're going to score 51 points, this bloke's probably dotting down off the back of a rolling
Our
ball.
good friend Malcolm in the middle.
So South Africa to win by 51 or more.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll change my points.
Because that means
I'll
you're
change my points to how far out can we go? I'll just say, can we get 70? 62. We'll go 62 and a half, sure.
All right, 62.
I can't actually get that far, so I'll take the 28 or more.
28 or more.
Okay, and what was your total points?
Yeah, I'll go 56 and a half then.
56 and a half
Yeah,
over.
just go up.
And a Malcolm Marks try. Let's get the...
He won't be in there now.
Oh.
We'll get about 8-1 for that, I reckon.
Yeah.
420 now.
Nice.
Multi's being made in real time on the Pick and Go podcast. You love to see it, folks. Well-oiled machine, as always. And that pretty much does us for the Rugby Championship. Plenty of...
But as you said, 225 on the South Africans to win the Rugby Championship, still available.
Yes. Wouldn't talk anyone out of that at all. We'll move on, though, because one trophy that's already been lifted in the world of rugby over the last 7 days. I think Paul Marty's done very well to last this long without talking about his triumphant Wellington Lions. Well, heading up north, taking the Ranfurly Shield and bringing it back to the capital with them. Paul, how are you feeling at 8:54 on Saturday night?
I'll be honest, I had a tear in my eye. It's a very emotional time to finally see the Shield coming back to its rightful home. Here.
It's only been 13 years.
Yes, the way, as a Manawa 2 fan, the way some Wellington fans were going on about the Shield drought.
Yes, but we're talking about a team that probably should have a chance every time the Ranfurly Shield is up for grabs. So, unlike other teams, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to watch, and it was a true Shield challenge where the holders didn't give an inch.
One try in the match.
Only one try in the match. Yep. Goal kicking. Was it Morgan who missed the one right next to the post that probably would have put the game?
That was when, as a Wellington fan, right, you start going, "Oh no,
here we go,
deja vu."
Yeah.
But no,
that would have put them 10 points ahead.
Yes. So it stayed in that 7-point range, which meant if Hawke's Bay could score in a converted try before full time.
And they looked like scoring a converted try.
They
at least looked like scoring a try.
If any team's going to have a
kicking well.
rolling maul from 5 metres out in the last minute.
Yeah, well, I thought they handled Tyrone Thompson very, very well.
I mean, that Wellington defensive effort, you just got to... The way that pack's sort of manned up this season, they maybe haven't had the biggest names on, but not chock full of Super Rugby talent, particularly in the tight 5. But
Old Hawke's Bay, tryless.
Yeah.
It's at home.
Huge.
Yeah.
Dom Bird was everywhere.
They had plenty of opportunity. You know, like they were on their line attacking a number of times, and they just held strong. So, kudos to Wellington. They're a team that I haven't been too high on this season, but I think they've won about 5 in a row now. So they're coming right at the right part of the season, that's for sure. And a big challenge this week.
I think the week after you put the boot into them, they really.
I still got a kebab out of you. So.
They did lose at home to Northland.
That was the turnaround week.
That feels like forever ago, right?
It does. Yeah.
It may have been the last game they lost, was it?
Yeah, I think it might have been. But unless there's anything else you guys want to touch on from the last round of NPC action.
Well, Northland losing that critical game up home against North Harbour, which now puts them outside the top 4. I think for the first time this season, or maybe after the first week, they've been in the top 4 pretty much since then. Now Northland find themselves on the outside looking in. Of course, they've got another pivotal game this weekend
A lot of pressure on this weekend
against the team who sit in 4th place at the moment. Are they the fourth? No, they're one spot behind. They're a point behind, aren't they?
It's a very open comp. I think there's only 2 teams that can't make the quarterfinals.
Is Manawatu one?
I think so.
Shock. Manawatu and Southland, yeah.
Yeah, I think Tasman are 1 point behind Northland, and Northland are a point or 2 behind North Harbour, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, so North Harbour and 3rd on 22, and then you got Tasman 19, Northland 18, Taranaki only just behind on 15 as well. So,
how are they on 15?
Yeah. Well, they won last night.
Yeah, but still, after the season.
Every team apart from Manawatu and Southland has won at least 3 games. So it's all to play. And that's like with last week's results, Canterbury only just getting across the line against Counties.
But they've secured top spot.
Waikato losing their unbeaten record down in Otago, albeit at the end of a storm week. Like, anyone can beat anyone on their day. I don't think certainly wouldn't be rushing into the shorts for Canterbury to win the comp. That's for sure.
Oh no, I think they're the only team that have actually secured their spot in the finals. They're like even Waikato are on top of the odds conference. Wellington's on 6 as well. Wellington's on 3 points behind. Bay 27, Hawke's Bay 25, Otago 21. So even Waikato, if they lost these 2 in results, I mean, I think they're going to win this weekend, April. But if they did happen to lose their last 2 games, things could go their way. They could find themselves out of the quarters.
Well, it's another pivotal game, not just the Shield on the line, Wellington Waikato.
Odds conference.
But the top of the odds conference is up for grabs.
It's the game of the round, the Shield. Wellington defending it at home. Sky Stadium, 4:35 Saturday afternoon. Underdogs, though, $2.15 in the match result market.
I'm so happy to see that.
Are you diving into the 2.15 though, Paul?
Well, dive is a very, very strong. Oh, I don't know if I could dive into it. Certainly have a nibble.
You will?
Oh, I'll have a nibble.
Okay, that's good. You're backing your boys to keep the hands on the Shield for.
Well, that won't be one of the bets that
No, but just as as a Wellington fan, are you confident that they can? It's a good Waikato side coming to town.
And they've given a wee bit of a shake-up by Otago.
Yeah.
The worst thing that Otago could do in terms of Wellington this week was beat Waikato when they've done it. Thank you very much.
I think Waikato would have been pretty fired up for a Shield challenge no matter what.
100%.
And just luring Wellington in, luring the Lions.
And that was their storm week as well. Waikato. So you can sort of give them a wee bit of leeway. And they weren't out of that game either.
Speaking of storm weeks, prayers for Southland fans who I think they got 150 points scored in them in their on their storm week. So
at least the fans got to see entertaining rugby.
Absolutely.
From one team.
But I think in all 3 games they were within a try or 2 at half time, and then the second half it just blew out. So prayers for the Stags. They've had a tough season. It started well, but not to beat this season.
Big who's going to get a win derby coming up shortly with Manawatu taking on Southland. That's what we all look forward to. So
that was Northland Southland last year. I remember. I think
There's always sort of. I think it was Manawatu Southland a couple of years ago. We got a win over them at Manfield. So
who's going to be the West Tigers of the NPC?
Tough question. Yeah.
Manawatu Tigers, sort of like Manawatu Turbos.
I'm getting sad. Let's move on. Shield Challenge obviously takes the headlines. Canterbury, Auckland, Friday night though. Probably, is that just a name thing rather than actually being an interesting game because Auckland might not be very good?
Plus, I'm not sure how sort of a bigger game. Certainly not a big game for Canterbury because they've already sort of got their spot wrapped up. Do they want to, I guess, rest a few players? Are they going to take this game? Are Auckland going to take this one seriously? They probably need to.
They need to. Yeah.
They need to.
Like, very easily could miss the quarterfinals.
So maybe
got the Taniwha breathing down their neck.
Maybe Auckland.
Yeah, I'm
plus the points.
No, thank you.
What's the
not
the
even?
Doesn't sound.
You
like
know what the line is?
About 10.5.
Oh, gee.
I'm not confident.
Yeah, no.
Wait until the teams are named.
Yeah,
Canterbury would be too good. They're my bets will say that. But yeah, the one I've got circled is it's not a de facto playoff game, but very very meaningful game. Both 205 games. Got Tasman versus Northland, which we already touched on the importance of that one. But then the all important battle for the Bay. Who's going to be called the Bay for the next 12 months in New Zealand? Bay have plenty favourites at home. $1.62. Obviously, been playing some great footy, but Hawke's Bay probably still
angry,
a pretty class side. Okay, I'm sure I can interest you in a bit of Hawke's Bay at 2:30, Paul.
Yeah, you can actually. I think they bounce back.
I was surprised to see them at such a big price. I know they're away from home and they've plenty been tearing up some trees, but the Hawke's Bay are still, I think they're still one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the competition. Like, they're a real chance of winning this whole thing.
And as you say, quarterfinal spots are still up for grabs. So
yeah, they'll be hurting. I think they're definitely a chance of pulling off an upset there. And if hopefully the game's anything like
that was one of the great games last year. Yeah.
It was absolute madness where there was went to
that was a
extra
Shield challenge,
time
wasn't
and
it?
went to extra time and no one knew if the Shield, like
As a Shield, was it part of extra time? Was it stay anyway?
And I know
it doesn't, which I think is the right rule for the record. But it was great. I think and Bay of Plenty, they played some. Yeah, they've been playing some great footy. That Bay of Plenty backline's just electric. So it could be a bit of sort of the battle of some class in the backs for the Bay of Plenty and Hawke's Bay doing their thing in the forwards. Hopefully they can get that rolling ball back rolling.
Yes, you would hope so for all of us. It's a quiet week last week, but that drought doesn't stay a drought for too long. Probably some nice weather up in Tauranga on Saturday afternoon, you'd have to think.
Takiaho. Get this going.
That is for sure, yeah. And I know the title of the Bay does mean a lot to the people in the Napier Hastings region, so you'll be very fired up to keep that
title for another season.
I believe you'll be in the Bay this weekend.
I will be until at least 4 p.m. So I'll be
see what happens.
Seeing what the temperature's like on the ground after losing the Shield. I'm looking forward to that. A lot of great games were covered there, but we are running on a timeline, so let's give the punters some betting before we have to sign off. Paul, what's your best bet for this weekend's NPC action?
I'm staying away from the Shield Challenge.
Okay.
I'm not going to touch it at all.
That's fine.
In terms of this show.
What's your best bet?
I'm going Hawke's Bay.
2:30. Yeah.
Yep, Hawke's Bay.
Very good price. Richard, best bet?
Waikato, $1.70. Head to head.
And I'll just finish off with Canterbury 13 plus at $1.70. But that's we don't have time to run through the bets. We might chuck them up on our social media channels, but unfortunately do have to sign off. But
bye.
Bets there. Bye everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week to break down another huge weekend of footy. Talk to you then. Cheers.